questions. You first went to Haiti 25 years ago. You just went there 6 weeks ago. How would you describe it 25 years ago versus today?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, actually, I mean, my first visit was almost 30 years ago. It was
Ooh.
1997, which is pretty terrifying to think about.
We
But
we don't admit
You were
here that
young.
that was
yeah,
30
You
years
were
ago,
you were
man.
early
yes,
20s then. You were
Yeah.
early
I'm
20s
a
then.
good Gen Xer. What can I say? And then I would say, I mean, certainly as a guy who was coming from New York at the time, I was shocked by the level of poverty and things like that. But that this it was still somewhat functioning as a state. I mean, you had elections, you had an elected parliament, you had an elected president. You could kind of drive around the city at night and go out at night and things like that and live relatively normally. Now, and even when I was living there in the early 2000s, when there was periods of really intense political violence, when those periods were not happening, it was perfectly normal for me to walk down to the Champ de Mars, which is the main square in front of the National Palace. I would walk up to this neighborhood called Bel Air, where I knew two voodoo priests who also made what they call drapeau voodoo, which are these sequin voodoo flags. They're very beautiful, and hang out there for the afternoon. I mean, that would be unthinkable to walk to Bel Air and into Bel Air now. And you've just had this real, I mean, the degradation of the security situation is really hard to it's really hard to bring into words unless you've seen it. I mean, you live in I mean, the last two times I've been in Port-au-Prince, I really have the feeling, and I live a very kind of privileged existence as an outsider who can come and go as I please. But still, going around and doing my interviews, I certainly had the impression that anything could happen at any time, and I might not come home at the end of the day. And now a lot of these neighborhoods, because the armed groups are gradually expanding their areas of control, even with this international security force. And so some of the neighborhoods that are kind of on the front line of this have now erected barriers of gates and things like that. And they're armed by militia, manned by armed militia, local militia, who are trying to keep the gangs from taking over their neighborhoods.